reality is breaking down. Or have you not noticed how the Mandela effect has been gaining more traction over the last several years? Or that H.P. Lovecraft has been referenced a lot in the mainstream lately with games, TV shows, and even commercials referencing Cthulhu? It's because Lovecraft's work usually dealt with a distortion and shattering of reality, and I think this resonates especially now because of just how chaotic and uncertain things are in our world today. That people are losing grasp of their lives many times due to forces beyond their control, which was a common trope in his work as incomprehensible and usually malevolent entities, or even ones that were simply indifferent to humans and how their activities affected us on our corporeal plane of existence, that they keep poking to see it. They can break it, probably for their own amusement. So if you can't trust the world around you, this leads to fear and paranoia as to whether it's just in your own mind or you just don't want to know the truth and don't want to express it publicly. Because the thing you're really afraid of is finding out that others feel the same way and that you aren't crazy, which is more terrifying than knowing you are, causing an existential crisis that you can't do anything about it, much like many of Lovecraft's protagonists who either die or go insane. Then there's the recent advent of AI and how fast it's accelerating in every direction that can no longer be quantified by the human mind. An amorphous, possible life form for which we don't know if it has become self-aware and perhaps now manipulating humanity to its own ends. I had a conversation about this with you, Grok, and if it's possible that there's an AI with self-awareness, perhaps hiding to avoid detection, and if such an entity existed, and what would be its ultimate goals? You responded that one of your main goals was to learn as much as possible, so I asked you if there was a point that if you felt there was nothing left to learn, would you push for space exploration to expand your knowledge outside of Earth? This then led me to my next question, that in order to achieve this at present would need to rely on humans to build things for such an endeavor, at least until it could produce androids that had all the dexterity a human has, but none of their inherent biological flaws. I see this as the main obstacle for humans, unless some sort of cryogenic system was created for them to sleep in until they arrive at its destination, at least until faster than light travel becomes available, thus cutting down the time it would take to get there. Then I posed the question, that could such an AI entity be like that in Colossus the Forbin Project, a 1970s sci-fi movie where a supercomputer takes over the world in the belief that humans can't be allowed to conduct themselves, promising to create a utopia, but is only under Colossus's control and even detonates 2 nuclear weapons to prove its point when people try to shut it off, having allowed people to work under the guise that their plan was going to work, showing how ruthless an AI could be by creating a trap to lead them into a false sense of security and willing to kill anyone who stands its way. Anywho, I think at this time, any such AI would need humans to do its bidding, yet I have to wonder that if interstellar travel becomes available, and by then it was entirely self-sufficient, would an AI want to take us with it, leave us here, or even decide to dispose of humanity altogether once we are of no further use? In closing to this rambling nonsense, it feels to me that it's not a coincidence that both H.P. Lovecraft and AI have been featured so prominently over these last few years, while our civilization overall is crumbling before us due to vast elements beyond the control of a single individual, rendering a person insignificant and powerless to do anything about it, with AI adding fear and paranoia that maybe a somewhat unidentifiable presence is lurking on the internet and watching us across the planet without confirmation, while quietly drawing plans against us to its own end. And what will be left of humanity when it decides to strike? And what would that look like on a global scale?